The government uses the word shelter for prisons that lock up migrant children, and it uses the words residential centers for prisons for migrant families. I call them internment camps because they resemble the internment camps where we locked up Japanese-American families in World War II. Senator Hirono was struck by that similarity. "It's terrible," she said. "This is what the internment camps looked like, if you look at the old internment camp grounds." It is a sparse, sprawling facility that looks arid and uncomfortable. The family facilities are mobile trailer units. The sound of the wind beating against the walls of the trailers reinforce how desolate and unworldly this place is. Most families at the camp were imprisoned there for less than 3 weeks under existing law, but some families were there much longer, caught in a complex web of immigration regulations. That was the case with Elena, who, along with her daughter Carolina, had been locked up at Dili for more than 6 months. I have changed their names to protect them from an ongoing threat against their lives. Elena had run a beauty shop back in Honduras and paid extortion to a local gang, as do virtually all businesses in the Northern Triangle. But the day came when she ran out of money and couldn't make the payment. The gang came to her house, held a gun to her head and another gun to her daughter's head. The gang then sexually assaulted Carolina as they forced Elena to watch. Elena and Carolina fled to the United States. In the U.S., Elena tried to file for asylum. She couldn't find pro bono legal help, so she hired a lawyer. That lawyer took her money but paid little attention to the case. He filed an asylum petition for Elena but not for Carolina. He didn't do the work necessary to properly prepare for the asylum hearing. Thus, he told her she would lose and withdrew her application for asylum. Without an asylum case pending, there was nothing to block ICE from moving forward with an order for deportation. ICE agents came to her house, arrested Elena and Carolina, and took them to Dili to await the completion of transportation arrangements for a return to Honduras. Elena's lawyer then said he would file a petition to reopen their asylum case, which would have stayed their deportation, but he failed to do so. Consequently, once the travel arrangements were in place, ICE woke them up in the middle of the night, dragged them both from their room, and sent them to Houston for a flight out. Carolina, however, had a massive panic attack because of her profound fear of returning to Honduras, where she was sure she would be raped or killed. They missed the flight, and the ICE agents took them back to Dili, where they were both placed in solitary confinement for a week as punishment. At this point, Elena and Carolina were trapped between a rock and a hard place. They didn't dare return to Honduras, and they couldn't bear to be locked up forever. A lawyer with the Dili Pro Bono Project, Shea Fluharty, stepped in to assist them. Fluharty filed a motion to reopen each of their asylum claims. She won the motion for Carolina, but not for Elena. In theory, Carolina could have been released from Dili to stay with his sponsor for the continuation of her immigration proceedings, but her mother would have had to stay locked up. Carolina was concerned about being separated from her mother, whom she had never been apart from. In addition, she didn't have a suitable individual to serve as a sponsor, so they stayed at Dili, imprisoned together. This was the situation when I met with Elena at Dili. She cried through the entirety of our conversation. She told me that her daughter wasn't eating or sleeping right and had been suicidal. She was desperate. We were in Dili on a Friday. I found out from Elena that her daughter's 15th birthday was the following Tuesday. A 15th birthday, the quinceañera, is a big deal in Latin culture. I asked the prison administrator to host a quinceañera party for Carolina. The answer was no, because it was policy to not hold anything special for any one child. I then suggested that they hold a quinceañera for each and every girl who turned 15 at Dili. The answer was no, because they said it wasn't acceptable to celebrate one culture over another. So I then suggested they hold a birthday party for every child of any age and any culture. The administrators said that was worth considering. The next week I got an email that said that they had considered the suggestion and were rejecting it. Too much work, apparently. Their decision shows how humanity dies at these prisons. I decided if Dili wouldn't celebrate her birthday, I would. My team made up a large card for Carolina, about 1 foot by 2 feet, that opened up with a sweet message wishing her a happy quinceañera. I took it to the Tuesday lunch.